I have not had my period in 2 months, and my mom assumes that I must be pregnant, so she takes me to see a doctor of all people possible. The doctor on duty turns out to be my ex, the same one I left 2 months ago. His face reveals nothing. His voice is cold when he says, "Lie down on the exam table, lift your shirt, and lower your pants." When I do not follow his instructions quickly enough, he, impatient, lowers my pants himself. But once the curtain is drawn, he removes his glasses and leans over me. We did not even get to do it. So why have I not gotten my period in 2 months? I did not expect to run into my ex just when I was at my lowest point. When I was in the waiting room earlier, I saw my primary care doctor's name on the screen, Patrick Hayes, and for a moment my mind went blank. It cannot be. This could not be happening. Still, I tried to calm myself down. In such a large city, it was not uncommon to encounter a doctor with the same name, but the moment we made eye contact in the exam room, my soul fell to my feet. Neat and discreet, Patrick wore a white coat that made patients trust him instantly. He was the head of gynecology and obstetrics at one of the best hospitals in the city. So who else could it be but my ex Valerie Carter? Right. What is the problem? He asked in a professional tone, his slender fingers twirling a pen between them. Perfect. Barely 2 months had passed since our breakup, and he could already act as if he did not know me. He was truly ruthless. Sure, what I said when we broke up was much crueler than anything he was doing now. My exact words were, "Patrick Hayes, after today, the only way I would consider seeing you again would be if you were lying in a hospital bed begging me." Now those words had come back to haunt me. We really were meeting again in a hospital. This time I was at his mercy. He was the doctor and I was just a patient, waiting for them to decide my fate. I could not even request an appointment with him. His schedule was completely full, and I could not get a single slot on my own. In the end, my mom had to pay double the normal price and do all kinds of paperwork just to get an appointment through a scalper. Just moments ago, I heard a group of girls leaving the clinic, whispering excitedly about how handsome the doctor was. According to them, the fame he had on social media was not exaggerated. They did not even need a prescription. Just seeing him in person was enough. He was devastatingly attractive, the kind of face that made you want to live decades longer just to admire it. At that moment, I felt curious. Were all Patrick Hayes this handsome? Now that I had seen him, devastating was the right word. I was not referring to his appearance. I was referring to myself. Normally, I had a sharp tongue. However, as soon as I entered the exam room, it was as if my voice had been stolen. I could not say a word. My mom, of course, did not notice anything. She had no idea about the tension that existed between Patrick and me. Instead, she started listing my symptoms out loud. "Dr. Hayes, she has not had her period in 2 months. Either she is pregnant, or something is very wrong. You have to examine her thoroughly, please." At that level of discomfort, I wish the earth would swallow me. "All right, ma'am, let us go step by step," Patrick responded patiently. He was genuinely kind, calm, and reassuring. His words immediately calmed my mother. But then Patrick lowered his head to write in my file. I clearly saw him write, "Possible pregnancy, delayed period, no rest between relationships, and already pregnant with someone else's child." Wait, that was not even a valid medical note. A second later he asked, "Do you have a boyfriend?" It was a standard question in gynecology. Whenever a patient had problems with her period, the doctor would ask it. But before I could answer, my mom jumped in. "Yes, she does, and they are super good together. They are absolutely in love with each other." "Did you take a pregnancy test?" Patrick asked. Again, I still did not answer. My mom immediately said, as soon as I realized that she was not getting her period, "I brought her here. Nowadays it is almost impossible to get an appointment." "I see." At first glance, Patrick still seemed completely calm, but he had already sensed the problem. I could see how he gripped the pen until his knuckles turned white. Even the tip of the pen had bent absurdly. The pressure had gone through 3 sheets of paper. "Come on, man, that was my medical record, not a hit list." "Could she be pregnant?" my mother asked, almost sounding excited. Without thinking, I jumped to my feet. "Actually, I think I am fine now. I swear I feel like my period is going to come any moment." As possessive as he was, Patrick knew I would be lost if I stayed one more second. But my mother pushed me back into the chair. "Do not be ridiculous. You know how hard it was to get this appointment. Since we are here, tell Dr. Hayes everything that is bothering you." At that moment, I was at my limit in every sense. Patrick finally softened his voice and said, "Valerie might be a little embarrassed with you present." Immediately, my mom understood the hint. As she left, she muttered, "What is she going to be embarrassed about? I have already seen everything." If only she knew what kind of man Patrick was. Patrick could seem respectable, but he was a real demon in bed. If this were a movie, my life would fall squarely into the disaster genre, and at that moment I deserved a dramatic close-up. I watched the door to the exam room slowly close behind my mother. In my eyes, it might as well have been a guillotine falling. Now, without witnesses, Patrick stopped pretending and set the pen aside. The emotionally distant, self-controlled doctor adjusted his silver-framed glasses before letting out a sarcastic smile. "You really are something else, Valerie. Who is the father? Barely 2 months have passed since we broke up, and you are already pregnant. The person who sent me that message was not lying, right? You are easy." Patrick paused, then, with an icy voice, he added, "Forget it. From now on you live your life, and I live mine. You are here for a checkup, nothing more. What happens to you is no longer my business." I was completely lost. What message? And what did he mean that I was easy? Had he swallowed some text scam? God knew that I had always been faithful to Patrick. Sure, before I met him I was a bit wild. In fact, our first meeting was not romantic, nor touching, nor exciting. One night after finally delivering work to a client, I called some friends, and we planned to go see strippers. But our stupid navigation app failed and took us to an elegant bar. We barely looked at the sign before going in. The bar was 1900 luxury, but my tastes were simple. After looking at the menu, I ended up ordering an entire bucket of sodas. As if it were destiny, Patrick was one of the bar's investors and happened to be there that night. When he brought our drinks, he even warned me, "Go easy with the mix of sodas and alcohol." Too much will make your heart beat faster. My friends kept making me drink, and by that point I was totally dizzy. So when I saw a handsome guy in front of me, I grabbed his hand and blurted out, "What the hell? This place does hire escorts. Handsome. How much do you charge for one night? Damn, look at those hands and those abs. What a spectacular man." I was too drunk to remember, but according to my friends, I not only groped Patrick, I even tried to wrap my arms around his waist and plant a kiss on him. At that moment, they were so embarrassed that they wished the earth would swallow them. They even pretended not to know me, their embarrassing small-town friend. When I woke up the next day and found out what I had done, I too wanted to die of embarrassment. To continue, tap the arrow in the bottom right corner and copy the link, then tap the Capit icon in the bottom left.